Hey guys, what's going on? I thought I would do a short little demo today about the Lioran board and one of the more powerful features that it has. What is the Lioran board? For people that stream in Twitch, it's basically like a virtual stream deck where you can have a collection of buttons that do different things for you. And the Lioran board is very flexible. It can be run in a lot of different ways. And I've done some demos on the Lioran board in the past, but there's something I've been using more recently that's very powerful aspect of it, which is taking the transmitter, which has all the buttons on it, and actually exporting that to an Android device like a phone or a tablet that then you can then use as a virtual stream deck. And I've had viewers and other streamers asking me, oh, how did you do that exactly? So I thought, I'll create this little demo to explain how that works, and then you can see a little bit of the power of Lioran board. Save yourself 100 or 120 bucks on a stream deck that you might buy through Amazon, and do it with a nice tablet that you might already own. It's just as powerful and more flexible. All right, so let's take a look. Let's have a quick review of the Lioran board in its normal operating form. So the Lioran board is software that you launch that brings up a virtual collection of decks. So when I first installed the Lioran board, hey Everstar, welcome to the demo. So when you first install the Lioran board, there are 5 decks that it comes with that are part of the demo, and you can explore those buttons and features to understand a little bit of how it works. So as I started building my own stream decks, one of the first ones that I created was this one called Main Animations, and allowed me to create a whole bunch of buttons, and I could customize them to do lots of different things, like the boom animation that Amberstar just did. That particular button has a trigger, which if I edit the trigger, you can see exclamation point boom is a way that somebody in chat can execute this button. And then to control what it does, you can edit the commands. Most people put their commands directly in the button. I actually have a queuing mechanism that I use so that if people execute a whole bunch of buttons at the same time, they won't play on top of each other. They actually go into a stack, which I call my triggers, and then I route them all through another button on a different deck that kind of manages the stacking and the queuing of those buttons, okay? So that's the basics of the receiver and how you program these buttons. But then you're like, okay, but how do I execute the buttons if I don't want to execute them via chat, if I just want to be able to push buttons? Well, there's another thing you can execute called the transmitter, and that will give you virtual buttons that can allow you to operate the different decks. So if I use these arrow functions to go back to that particular deck that has those buttons on it that we were just looking at, you can see right here the collection of all the buttons. And if I were to actually click on that button, it basically has the same effect as somebody typing the chat, as Amberstar just did with Boom, that allows you to execute the button, okay? So these stream decks are very powerful because you can have an infinite number of them. You can have them doing different things. You can put these little arrow functions on them that allows you to jump between the different decks. So if you look at your receiver, you'll notice you have a whole collection of decks that you can name whatever you want, and they can all do different things. And if I come down here to the one that says new media lists, for example, you can see couch singer, couch driver, squirrel singer, baby sit-ups, okay? So remember that. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this back up here, and I'm gonna keep jumping forward on my stream decks until I get to that one that shows me, there it is, couch driver, squirrel singer, baby sit-ups. As you can see, the transmitter is a way of viewing all those buttons that you have programmatically created using the receiver, and it allows you to execute them. So these buttons all do different things. Some of them involve lights. For example, I have a button that's like red flashing. If I hit this, oops, that's a shout out. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that one. So that's how I give a shout out to one of my friends and streamers, the real Red Fire. But if I come to this one right here, Red Flash, you'll notice this one is a combination of Lumia lights. So I have a red light that's flashing behind me. And so then I have a webcam that turns on that allows those lights to be visible. And then I have some music playing. And one really nice thing about the transmitter board for the Lioran board is you can see the little rotating dial on the button. It gives you a sense of how long it takes for that button to complete. So that's all well and good, and I've done these demos before showing you how to execute the transmitter buttons over to the receiver. But there's another really cool, powerful thing that has to do with the Lioran board when you install it. So let me show you what the folder structure looks like when you install the Lioran board. So after you install it, you get a collection of folders that looks like this, okay? So you have to do a few things to get this set up. But basically, these three folders are the ones you care about the most. The receiver in particular has all these config files. You have a config file for each of your stream decks, and then at the very bottom, you have the actual receiver. When you launch this guy, that's what actually brings up this receiver where you can build your decks and build your buttons, okay? Now, another very important folder, if we go back, is this one, the Stream Deck folder, and notice it says Stream Deck parentheses PC. So inside here is where you launch the executable for the Stream Deck, and that's the one that actually gives you one of the decks that you can then use to jump to any of the other decks, right? So that's your actual transmitter. But there is another folder in there that's very important, and let's take a look at that one. This one, if we go back one level, there's one that says Lioran board Stream Deck for Android, okay? Now in here, you have an APK file. An APK file is a file that's understood by Android devices like tablets and phones. Well, I thought to myself, yeah, I'm gonna try that, but I wasn't in a hurry to do it. When I finally did it, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I could have been using my tablet the whole time. So I transferred the APK out of this folder over to my tablet using a cable. You know, you connect a cable from your tablet to your PC, and then you say, share the tablet. You can view the files. And I transferred this across. Then I double clicked it. It did an installation. And then when I was done, guess what I had, okay? And let me turn this view off. I basically had the same exact set of buttons, but now on my tablet. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but I'm gonna try and rotate it in a way. So now on this tablet, which is not connected via wires at all, it's just sitting over here on the side. As I play games and I don't wanna have to chat or move my mouse to execute a button, I can literally just come here and touch a button, and I can have the effect on the stream that I want to have, which in this case is this little Spider-Man animation, okay? This particular Stream Deck is a collection of songs from the 80s and 90s. I can literally just click a button and have the sound effect play. So, you know, all these different sounds, you know, Scooby-Doo. So it's very powerful. If you basically want to take your tablet and turn it into a Stream Deck, you can. And that way you're not spending money on something you would buy from Amazon. Oops, I accidentally clicked something really loud there, my apologies. So anyway, I know it's a little bit hard to see on the tablet, but it's there, all the buttons are there, and it's very powerful because you can have whole complex events like the red flashing light. I've got some party songs that I've set up in here. It's very powerful. And so try it, use the Lioran board, transfer your APK over to your phone or your tablet. I actually have it on my phone as well. So, and then you can do this even when you're not at home. If you open up a port on your firewall, you can remotely control your Lioran board by passing it through your firewall into your PC and being able to control it that way. So anyway, that's just a little bit about the Lioran board, how it works. Very powerful software. Oh, one more thing I did want to show you though is the pub sub, it needs to be connected. So, you know, when you're first, you know, connecting all this, it might seem a little confusing and you'll be like, oh, how come mine's not working? So I want to show you one little thing. Inside the file structure that we talked about of the Lioran board, there is a file called the TLS transmitter, and that's pretty important because you have to have this file always open and running. And if you double click this, you're going to get a file that opens that looks like this right here, Lioran board TLS hub. Okay, and this is kind of like the listener between the receivers and the transmitters. So I actually have two transmitters going on right now. I have the transmitter that I'm running on my PC, which is this one, and I also have the one that's running from my tablet, two different ones. So there's kind of like a hub that listens to all these different clients that says, okay, who's going to launch the button first, you know? And I'll be like, oh, from the PC, I want to click it there, you know? And then over here from the tablet, I can do the exact same thing by clicking this button, and it has the same exact effect. Two different clients, both sending messages. The receiver is listening for the messages, but if this little hub thing isn't running, it's not going to allow it to work. Because notice what happens if I take the receiver that's running and I close it, I shut it down, okay? So the moment I close the receiver, you're gonna notice that this connection is gonna say, oh, PubSub connection closed. I can't forward messages, I can't do everything. But the moment that I reopen it, then the receiver is going to start working on getting connected again. And if I bring this into view, you'll notice The connections are black until they connect, and once they connect, then they turn gray. Sometimes the connection to the OBS will be a little slow, but notice as soon as it connects to Twitch, then my pub sub is connected. But my connection to OBS is not connected yet, so I'm not fully up and running. Now, sometimes what I do to help it connect a little more quickly is I just kill it and I reopen it a few times, and usually by the second or third time, I mean, it will retry on its own, but I can kind of help it along. It's listening for an OBS WebSocket port, and sometimes the WebSocket port is a little bit busy and not ready to receive a connection, but it will keep retrying until it gets connected. So you can either wait and allow it to go through its retry mechanism, or you can just keep relaunching it. And I'm trying to launch one that connects properly, but it hasn't connected yet. As soon as I see it connect to OBS successfully, okay, let's just leave it in view, and you can see that it may automatically connect to OBS on its own retry. The other thing is I have multiple accounts, and you can use multiple accounts using the Lioran board. I have my bot connected to the Lioran board because whenever the buttons get executed, I want it to be the bot that does the actual work. I don't want it to be my main account. So if I take a transmitter and I bring it up into view, oh yeah, I have to wait for the connection to be connected. Then you'll notice that whenever the buttons get pressed, it's the bot that's doing the work, and I'll show that to you here in just a minute once I get reconnected to OBS. For some reason, the port, it's not allowing it to connect. Let me give it a few more tries. Yeah, unfortunately, the buttons in the chat won't work just yet until I get the Lioran board listener up and running. Okay, now I got it. So now you'll see it went straight to gray. Usually when it connects the first time, it goes right to gray on the Connect OBS. Okay, so now that that's connected, if we try that Paxton command again, like what Getmore just did, now it will work. It should start triggering correctly.
Know what time it is? Time to pay the fiddler.
So if I bring my transmitter back into view, so the same function that Getmore just did, I'm going to do with a button press. So let me make this a little bigger so you can see it. If I drag from the bottom down, okay, it's trying to redraw. Hang on a second. The transmitter's struggling because I took its receiver away, and so it's like I can't get a connection to the receiver. Let me just kill the transmitter for a second. Let me just close it, and I will reopen it, because now that the receiver is finally up and listening again, if I open up the transmitter connection, it will have a nice fresh connection. It'll be happy. Sometimes it doesn't like you pulling out the rug from underneath it right when you know it's actively connected. So here we go. I have a nice transmitter rebuilt. It's kind of huge, but that Paxton command is part of a collection. So what I did was I created a stack of Paxton sound effects, and then when Getmore typed !Paxton, it's the same as clicking this button. And
Come on, take your little hussies home. Your parents are probably worried sick.
It basically does a random sound in a collection of sounds. Anyway, so that's a little bit about the Lioran board, how you can move back and forth between the different decks. I have a lot of really fun functions. I have random song clips, random videos, random sound effects, all kinds of different things. So have fun using the Lioran board, and once you've got it working, transfer it over to your favorite touch cross, touch a button, and boom, there's your effect. All right, so there's a little bit about the Lioran board, how to transfer it to a tablet, use it as a virtual stream deck. Very powerful. Save yourself $100. I hope you enjoyed this demo. I'm gonna sign off for now, and we'll catch you guys later. So take care, and we'll see you next time. Peace.